Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Olajide Bello. First, the headlines. ECOWAS puts in place legislative policy and institutional frameworks to protect sub-regional financial systems from threats of money laundering and terrorism financing. Advocacy for private sector active participation for the attainment of African Continental Free Trade Zone underway. Liberian President, where loses re-election bid, concedes defeat, congratulates winner of the presidential poll. President Bola Tinubu has departed Abuja for Berlin, Germany to attend the G20 Compact with Africa CWA conference holding on November 20, 2023. The president took off from the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, at about 6:15 p.m. Nigerian time. During the conference, to be hosted by German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, President Tinubu will join other heads of state and government of CWA member countries, bilateral partners, as well as heads of international organizations to deliberate on the immediate enhancement of economic and business cooperation, with a view to outlining concrete measures to boost investment in critical areas such as energy, trade, infrastructure, and new technologies, among others. The G20 CWA conference will take place alongside the 4th G20 Investment Summit co-hosted by the German government and German business associations in view of President Bola Tinubu's globally recognized drive for foreign direct investment in Nigeria. The president will sustain the momentum and advance at the mission further as he leads Nigeria's delegation to participate in the investment summit. The federal government has reiterated the collective commitment of ECOWAS and member states to put in place necessary legislative policy and institutional frameworks to protect the integrity of the financial systems from the threats of money laundering and terrorism financing. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi SAN, who is also the chairman of the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, GIABA, Ministerial Committee meeting, said this at an opening of the committee's 27th meeting at the State House. Judiciary correspondent Chukunonso Nwabweze reports.
These key anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism decision-makers across West Africa are in Nigeria to deliberate on ways of ensuring that the economies of member states remain safe from all forms of unlawful financial activities that impede economic growth as well as national and regional peace and security. Chairman of the committee and Nigeria's Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi SAN, in his opening address, called on member states to go beyond focusing on technical compliance to a result-based approach.
These propel a renewed commitment to ensuring that we take the steps necessary to meet the global standards, but even more importantly, protect the integrity of our financial system and our national security.
Fundamental to major improvement are required in terms of effectiveness. This low level of effectiveness is a major challenge in our fight against transnational crime as a region. We would provide the needed support to GIABA to address the outstanding issues in the EIAP, including the recruitment of the Director of Evaluation and Compliance, as well as adequately preparing for its next round of mutual evaluation.
On his part, Vice President of the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, Jeremy Well, makes a case for a strong national anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism regime in West Africa.
The illicit financial flows that GIABA is helping the world combat are robbing your treasuries and your people of much-needed tax revenue. This is at a time when so many economies in a post-pandemic world are struggling with high debt levels and high financing needs.
And we know the only way to remove the monster within our internal security architecture is by getting to the root and tackling the financing of these organized crimes.
The 27th Giaba Ministerial Committee meeting, which later went into a closed-door section, had ECOWAS Ministers of Finance, Interior, as well as that of Justice or their representatives in attendance. Chukunonsonwa Bweze, NTA News.
The African Continental Free Trade will not produce a desired result if private sector and the continent do not work together. Director of Trade and Investment, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Akiremi Bolaji cited these at the commemoration of the 63rd Independence Anniversary of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire in Abuja. Adebola Brooksland Sunday was there.
It is estimated by the World Bank that the African Continental Free Trade Area will increase Africa's income by $450 billion by the year 2035 and increase intra-African exports by more than 81%. Celebrating the 63rd independence anniversary of Cote d'Ivoire, the Pearl of the West located on West Africa's Gulf of Guinea, diplomats from within and outside Nigeria commended the tropical country for the developmental strides recorded since independence. Director of Trade and Investment, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Akiremi Bolaji, said about 3 million Nigerians reside in Cote d'Ivoire, making about 40% of foreigners there. This, he says, symbolizes the strong bilateral ties between the two countries.
When you have all this memorandum of understanding signed, agreement signed on treatment of citizens, on businesses, on economic cooperation, we are talking of Abidjan-Lagos corridor, we are talking about market access, we're talking about all these things. It takes people to activate those things.
Regional and international cooperation for global peace and unity are some of the areas Ambassador Traore Kalilu is impressed about as his country's ambassador to Nigeria.
We have been contributing strongly to the peace processes by sending troops, by sending our diplomats, by sending sometimes medical doctors anywhere in the world, in the region, to help the peace building.
Cote d'Ivoire formally gained independence from France on August 7, 1960. Adebola Brooksland, NTA News.
And talking some politics, Liberia President George Weah has conceded election defeat to opposition leader Joseph Boakai after a tight race. The country's elections commission said Boakai, a former vice president, led with 50.9% of a vote over Weah's 49.1%. George Weah said he spoke with President-elect Joseph Boakai to congratulate him on his victory and urged him to follow his example and accept the results of the elections. Weah's concession paves the way for Liberia's second democratic transfer of power in over 7 decades. The first was when Weah swept to power 6 years ago. His comments stood out in West and Central Africa, where there have been 8 military coups in 3 years, eroding faith in democratic elections when elections do go ahead in the region. Accusations of fraud abound and results are frequently contested in court. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has congratulated the government and people of Liberia on the successful conduct of the Liberian presidential election. The president also congratulated President-elect Joseph Boakai, who won the mandate of the people, and joining him to unite the country and build on the popular support expressed through the ballot to deliver good governance to the people of Liberia. President Tinubu also commended President George Weah for demonstrating uncommon leadership by conceding the election and averting any form of socio-political crisis. The president says President Weah's great act of democratic sportsmanship is exemplary, particularly at this time in West Africa when democracy is under attack by malign actors who are bent on subverting the will of the people. Nigeria and Tanzania are confident that the huge youthful population of Nigeria can turn into a vital human resource asset for the entire continent. This came to the fore when the Directorate of Technical Aid Corps, Dr. Yusuf Buba Yakub, visited Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, while rounding off a monitoring and evaluation visit to that country. He expressed satisfaction that the DTAC scheme has, in the last 35 years of operation, remained on course by developing the needed manpower in recipient countries where former trainees are now beginning to train others. During the visit to the Nigerian High Commission in Dar es Salaam, where the DTAC delegation, led by the DG, met with the Technical Aid Scheme volunteers serving at Zanzibar, Dr. Buba said he was particularly happy with the contributions of the volunteers to their places of service. He noted the noble role of the High Commission in support of the DTAC scheme and the volunteers, while urging them to maintain what was obviously a very cordial working relationship. The Nigerian High Commissioner to Tanzania, Ambassador Dr. Hamisu Umar Takalama, who received the DTAC delegation and the scheme volunteers, had noted the high pan-African credentials and friendliness of Tanzania, saying that other African countries needed to learn a lesson or two from the palpable unity and peace that exists among the people of the country. During the course of further interactions with the group of volunteers from Zanzibar and the officials of the Nigerian mission in Dar es Salaam, the DTAC delegation noted the effective roles played by the various stakeholders in the scheme and commended them for giving effect to the President Bola Tinubu's desire to cement Nigeria's role in the development of the African continent. The Russian attacks on Ukraine have been consistent on soft targets and more major infrastructure. Khalil Mohammed reports.
The Ukrainian Air Force in a statement said the attack started late Friday night into early Saturday morning. Russia launched a major drone attack on Ukraine overnight, hitting infrastructure facilities in the southern and northern part of the country. The South Military Command said an energy infrastructure facility was hit in the southern Odessa region.
One of the difficulties with defending the bridge is the variety of the attacks that the Ukrainians have used against it and the different options that they have. Ability that if their forces in the southeast of the country are able to drive further south, they will put the bridge in range of the missiles that Ukraine has. Ukraine is also asking the West for further missiles which have a longer range and would therefore be able to strike the bridge.
Unfortunately, I was right, and I stand by my conclusion that not only will this be the case in 2023, but could very well be the case in 2024.
An administrative building was also damaged, and one civilian was wounded in the strike. In Ukraine's northern Chernihiv region, on the border with Russia and Belarus, infrastructure buildings were damaged during the overnight strikes. The drones also targeted Kyiv in the second attack this month. Officials say 29 out of 38 drones launched from Moscow and targeted at the capital were shot down. Khalil Mohammed, NTA News.
The federal government, through the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, is to deploy 2,000 tractors to boost national food security. Minister of Agriculture and Security, Abubakar Kyari, disclosed this while interacting with key players in agriculture mechanization in Abuja. Musa Aliyu reports.
Nigeria is rated among countries with the least mechanized farming practice in the world. The country's tractor density is put at 0.27 horsepower per hectare, which is below the world standard of 1.5 horsepower per hectare. This necessitated this meeting with foreign investors interested in the Nigeria's agricultural opportunities.
The ministry must now pay a special attention to extreme current cooperative groups that are in country, and to see those that have the capacity or the potentials to find a way to support them.
Abubakar Kyari says production of 2,000 tractors in the country yearly would enhance food production, create jobs for Nigerian farmers, especially women and youths.
If you look at the 800 to 1,000 hectares per year, and you have 2,000 tractors a year, that automatically translates to 1,600,000 to 2 million hectares a year in addition to what we have currently.
Vice President John D. Johnson Butney says they are ready to provide government with the necessary equipment. The capacity of the tractors would range between 75 and 90 horsepower for use on different terrains in the country. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. We'll take a short break. More news in a moment.
They are going through the brunt of the fuel subsidy. I know the pressure and the demand and lamentation, but you understand it much better. You are the one who understands the labor pain. That is only after that pain you see the smile of a child that you are relieved and forget the pain completely. And that's what we are going through economically. You are the one who can educate better the public to understand that we have to go through this. Cartel and thieves have been raping us and fleecing this country before now. You say enough is enough. We are taking our country back.
Entertainment, show, go TV enjoyment. 65 channels for you. What's up, master? 80 channels, and super, where there's better, where you want to. Better entertainment, make you choose. Marvelous, and the new package. We get everything for super. Cause all the Premier League, La Liga, Syria, Disney Channel, Studio Universal.
On Top Go TV, now you get the remote with better enjoyment for your fingertips. Go TV, love it.
Glad to know you're still there. The peace and unity of Nigeria and its people, peace advocates say, can only endure on the tripod of social cohesion, political inclusivity and partnership. Charles Alpha reports that this view was not only shared by foreign nationals at the Exponential Leadership Series in Africa, but also by the former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, who many believe is the architect of Nigeria's unity.
At a time when peace and tranquility seem to be evading several regions currently plagued by war, the imperative of equality, nationalism, social justice, and sincerity of purpose would provide valuable lessons for African leaders. Bringing in a man who was and still is a fierce defender of Nigeria's peace and unity is deemed a right call by the Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution and Tell Africa, as they discuss leadership and the imperative of peace and unity across the continent.
Government policies and leaders in Africa, must consciously, and deliberately, implement policies that are inclusive, that makes for elite consensus, that looks for positive political settlement, and that is the only way we can build our nations and build the nations of Africa.
In China, in Nigeria, and also in the international community, we need a symphony, different kinds of symphony, But today's symphony, we need peace symphony.
Peace and progress and prosperity and development should be the basis of our common 4 pillars.
Former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, while sharing his experience and key decisions taken by his government to forestall peace, reconciliation, rehabilitation, reconstruction, as well as reintegration of Nigerians after the war, said respect, being each other's keeper, and bridging the gap between the have and have-not are ideals for peace.
Please, all of you, believe in Nigeria and help to make it better, to make it good and better.
To make it work.
For NTA, there is no alternative for peace and national cohesion.
We also represent peace and the national integration of Nigeria, which we do not take for granted, because our mandate is to ensure that the national interest is not compromised.
The experiential leadership series by the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution and Tell Africa seeks to influence leadership growth with the ultimate aim of securing a sustainable economy for its people. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Quality and comprehensive content promoting the science and technology ecosystem will be the hallmark of the Science, Technology and Innovation TV. Director General, National Space Research and Development Agency, Dr. Halilu Shawa, stated this during a public-private partnership meeting in Abuja. Adebola Brooksland reports.
Established by the Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology to promote the mandate of the ministry and agencies under it, funding and collation of content have been some of the challenges limiting the operationalization of the NTAi television station. This meeting with Idea Global is to formalize the Memorandum of Understanding between the two partners that will fast-track full-scale transmission of the NTAi TV station.
We have common vision. The thinking is, how do we tell the world this is what science is? How do we bring science to the common knowledge of the common man working on the street so that he will also know the benefit of what science is?
We have to strengthen some of these institutions, build capacity, and at the end of the day showcase what the continent is doing. But importantly, promote STEM education, science, technology, engineering, mathematics in our younger population.
This is a way of also encouraging public-private partnership. You believe, or agree with me rather, that to run a television station is not an easy task. It's going to open a new chapter in the science, technology and innovation ecosystem in Nigeria and Africa.
The station is the first in Nigeria dedicated to science and technology and owned by the federal government. Adebola Brooksland, NTA News.
The National Working Committee of the New Nigeria People's Party (NNPP) has rejected the judgment of the appeal court which sacked the governor of Kano State, Abba Kabir Yusuf. Addressing news conference in Abuja, the acting national chairman of the party, Abba Kawul Ali, described the judgment as strange to the Electoral Act, which cannot stand the test of time. The party insisted that in line with the Supreme Court judgment on Peter Obi versus President Bola Tinubu, the membership and leadership of a political party are purely internal issues of the party that cannot be questioned by any court, expressing hope that they will get justice at the Supreme Court.
Will live up to its calling as the temple of justice and the last hope of the common man. So far, members of NNPP nationwide and the people of Kano State are yet to get justice from the judiciary.
In the last election, general election, INEC used what we call portal to submit the names of your candidates. And the portal is so configured that by the time you are submitting the name of your candidate, you must submit his forms that he obtained as an aspirant. Yes. You must submit his expression of interest form. Apart from that, you must submit his membership card with his membership number. together with all the other particulars. If any of this document is missing, the portal will not accept the candidate that you have submitted or you have submitted the documents.
He urged all its supporters nationwide to remain calm, trusting that justice will prevail in the long run. His almost virilic writings were perfectly complemented by his political activism in the nationalist struggles. His philosophy was quite represented in the motto of his West African pilots, which read, "Show the light and the people will follow the way." His gifts stand for boldness, equity, and social justice. All these encomiums resonated at the 4th Zik Annual Lecture 2023, held at the Shehu Musa Yaradua Center in Abuja. The report.
Are safe and secure in their persons and property.
Echoes of wisdom and peace from Nnamdi Benjamin Azikiwe, usually referred to as Zik, a Nigerian statesman and political leader who served as the Governor General of Nigeria and the first president of Nigeria during the First Republic, which existed from 1963 to 1966. That is why it was a convergence of the traditional institutions, political bigwigs, and Nigerians from different political, ethnic, and religious backgrounds to honor the man considered a driving force behind the nation's independence and the father of Nigerian nationalism. Highlighting the lessons to be learned from the legacies of the late icon, dignitaries, one after the other, extolled his sterling qualities in shaping Nigeria's historical journey, describing Zik as a peace ambassador.
I expressed the feeling, not just myself, but the entire family, because it gives us that willpower to continue believing in Nigeria. But with something like this, we know that Zik is still alive.
He is one of the best people we can celebrate in this country, so that our children and grandchildren will know that there were people who have contributed, who have sacrificed their time and their energy for the sake of Nigeria.
We Nigerians from all walks of life, from different states, should come together and unite as one. And that's what our late leader, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, stands for. Unity. We should come and be one and help one another and rebuild this country.
African nationalism is a factor in the modern world. Its conceptualization and understanding is possible when one takes a critical study of the forces that help to shape and mold it into a viable force of self-determination. And before we go, a quick look at Sunday's weather forecast. And that is the news. Thanks for watching. I am Olajide Bello.